Hey, Commanders fans, get ready, because today we have exclusive news about our team, and you can't miss a single detail. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, activate the bell to receive everything firsthand, and of course, leave a like to strengthen our fan base and show that we only have true fans here. Our commitment is to always bring you the latest updates, news, and everything that happens behind the scenes of Commanders. So without further ado, let's check out today's news.
The Commanders have a huge problem with Mike Sainristil on their hands. This is a glaring problem. Things haven't gone well for the Washington Commanders this season. There's been a lot of talk about the NFL's oldest roster looking exactly that. But the younger players with long-term potential haven't developed enough. That's undoubtedly a much bigger problem. The Commanders weren't counting on many of their veterans beyond 2025. But as far as draft picks and other investments are concerned, the lack of progress is a genuine concern, leaving far more questions than answers. Washington's humiliating loss to the Minnesota Vikings in Week 14 exposed a huge problem, and all indications are that the Commanders have a gigantic problem on their hands with second-year cornerback Mike Sainristil. The Commanders need to rethink how best to take full advantage of Mike Sainristil's potential going forward. The Commanders thought they had struck gold when Sainristil became available with the 50th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. His rookie season didn't diminish that optimism, especially considering how easily he adapted to the wide receiver position. There were high expectations that he could develop and become a key player for the franchise this season. Unfortunately, that didn't materialize. Sainristil struggled most of the time. His return to the nickelback position made him a frequent criticism for being the team's weakest link. He allowed the second most receptions in the entire league, and not even 3 interceptions could mask his deficiencies. The former Michigan star showed brief potential when moved to the sideline, but Sainristil reverted to his usual pattern with a disastrous performance against the Vikings. They looked to him whenever they needed a big play, and it worked. His short stature, 1.75 meters, ended up being his downfall, allowing Minnesota's taller receivers to get what they wanted. Washington has a big decision to make regarding Sainristil this offseason. He'll still be around, but the Commanders need to figure out where he can have the biggest impact. Trey Amos will occupy one of the sides. However, with Marshawn Lattimore likely leaving the franchise, the whole situation needs to be rethought. At this point, what to do with Mike Sainristil? He had a horrible season, but is it the players' fault or the tactical schemes?
The Washington Commanders have some important decisions ahead of them this offseason. Adam Peters saw his grand plans to compete in the 2025 Super Bowl fall apart, and it will take a lot of work and difficult but necessary choices to reverse the situation. Some situations will be more challenging than others. The Commanders need to be rejuvenated in some way, and that takes time. But there is one pending situation that is starting to look like a real matter of luck next spring. The central issue revolves around the future of veteran linebacker Bobby Wagner. The second-line player is firmly on the twilight of his future Pro Football Hall of Fame career. However, the Commanders could offer him a new one-year contract to provide some stability to a unit that is clamoring for more consistency. Commanders and Bobby Wagner prepare for a contractual crossroads in the offseason. Frankie Louvu has regressed. He has been used more as a pass rusher and is much less efficient. Jordan Magee is getting more opportunities in the rotation, but it's hard to know what the Commanders have on their hands. The other players are mostly reserves and special teams players. Wagner is the constant. He has growing flaws and obvious strengths. The former Utah State star is a weak point in coverage when isolated, but unless the Commanders find a viable alternative or do the right thing with Louvu and turn him back into a predominantly off-ball presence, they may have to offer another one-year contract. The 6-time All-Pro impacts the salary cap by $9 million this season. Peters would certainly like that amount to decrease if Wagner remains on the team. He's still a force among the tackles, as evidenced by his 131 tackles and 3 sacks in 13 games. But the Pro Bowl regular also needs more support around him than ever before. Despite his influence in the locker room and close bond with quarterback Jaden Daniels, it's a situation that could go either way. There's also the possibility of Wagner retiring or seeking a team with real title chances to end his playing career. It's impossible to predict with certainty at this point. Wagner is professional enough to maintain focus on Washington's last 4 games and worry about the rest afterward. The Commanders need all the help they can get right now, and the imminent preseason changes should be enough to keep the urgency high. Even if nothing is at stake, earning a minimum of respect is essential. For the Commanders to achieve this goal, Wagner needs to be on the front line. He's the defensive pillar on whom everyone places their hopes for inspiration. This might be a harsh criticism of the current state of affairs, but it's what we have right now.
Commanders consider ideal landing place for 49ers' $120 million star. The 2025 offseason promises to be one of the busiest and most important for the franchise, and a big name has begun to emerge increasingly strongly behind the scenes of the NFL. Brandon Aiyuk, wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, and a star valued at an impressive $120 million. After a season marked by frustrations, injuries, and results well below expectations, the Commanders are ending the 2025 campaign with a clear sense of missed opportunity. The team started the year with much higher promises and expectations, but nothing went as planned, and this only makes this preseason even more crucial for the franchise's future. Why is Brandon Aiyuk considered a perfect fit in Washington? According to reporter Dan Graziano, ESPN, Aiyuk's name is already among the top targets speculated to reinforce the Commanders' offense. He highlights that Washington is seen as one of the most logical destinations, especially because of the player's personal relationship with quarterback Jaden Daniels, with whom he shared a locker room during his time at Arizona State. Washington is a place that many people consider a possible destination for Brandon Aiyuk because it is believed that he would like to join his former Arizona State teammate, Jaden Daniels, Graziano wrote. The connection between the two former Sun Devils naturally sparks Washington's interest, which sees in Aiyuk's possible arrival a chance to give its young quarterback an elite offensive weapon. ESPN journalist Jeremy Fowler reinforced the idea, stating that the connection between the player and the Commanders is something that makes perfect sense, especially because of the franchise's current situation and the changes that are expected to occur at the wide receiver position. The current situation of the Commanders' wide receiver core. Washington has already taken an important step by securing Terry McLaurin's future, signing him to a long-term contract before the season began. McLaurin remains the team's main offensive reference, but needs more support. On the other hand, there's the case of Deebo Samuel, acquired via trade last offseason. Samuel's contract is expiring, and he could become a free agent. Negotiations haven't progressed yet, and there's a real possibility he won't stay in the capital. If that happens, Aiyuk would not only be a natural replacement, but would also bring an interesting irony. After losing Samuel to the market, Washington could bring in another star from the 49ers to fill the role. Jaden Daniels needs weapons, and Aiyuk could exactly be that. And that's precisely why Aiyuk fits so well into the franchise's plan. Explosive, fast,